Well, hello everyone and welcome to another show of Renovating Riches Radio, or in Spanish, Renovando Riquezas. I'm Dennis Rodriguez with my co-host,
Ricardo Rosales, and today we have a very special guest, Mr. Carlos Treviño from Do Right Foundation.
And if you're watching us on YouTube or any of the video channels, you will recognize that we are not at our regular studio. You might hear some music in the background, and it's because we're transmitting today from Spring, Texas, at the Bareback Bar and Ice House, right?
Which is actually a very nice venue. There's actually a couple of guys out there playing darts right now, a few other people drinking beer. And we're doing this right before our event in spring.
Which you're all invited to come next month, April 20-something.
Last Monday of the month.
Yep.
And just make sure you're here next time. This is actually a nice venue, so come on over, get some free beers. Our sponsors like Carlos is gonna buy you a beer. And it's unlimited. And you can play darts, pool, just network.
Yeah, most important is about networking, real estate, and business in general. So let's welcome Carlos to our podcast. And this is going to be a really good one. We haven't talked about foundation in the almost 2 years we have been recording this. So, Carlos, first of all, how are you?
I'm doing all right.
Thank you for being here with us. So, Do Right Foundation. There's a very popular saying in Houston that there's two types of houses in Houston, right? Houses that have foundation problems and houses that will have foundation problems. So with that being said, can you generally explain what is the problem with the Houston ground that all houses eventually will have foundation problems?
Most of the houses are built on gumbo in Houston, and then the weather, when it rains, the ground swells up and it pushes the house up. And then when it dries, when we hit the drought, like June, July, August, September, the hottest months of the year, the ground will shrink and the house will settle. And then when it rains and it swells back up, it doesn't go all the way back up where it was initially, where it was built.
Okay.
Over the years, just the ground contracted. It makes the house, it settles.
So, other than calling you every, 10, 15 years to fix the foundation, is there something that people can really do to avoid having these issues?
Or in new construction, I guess. If you're gonna build a new house, then I'm pretty sure you can build a thick foundation of I don't know what.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
But you're still gonna have some type of foundation unless you use bell-bottom piers. The builder's pier, when they build the slab initially, they'll put the bell-bottom piers in there.
Okay.
Or some builder's piers, what they're called. And but to answer your other question about the house shifting, to try to avoid that situation, you use soaker hose.
Okay, so that does work, because I've heard that in Houston you have to water the foundation.
Oh, like to go and...
So, like probably in the other 49 states or cities all over the place, you water your garden for the flowers and the grass. In Houston, you water the foundation.
Right.
Okay. So in your dry months, you go and water the foundation pretty much.
You use a soaker hose. You can use it like 30, 45 minutes once or twice a week.
Okay.
You can buy a timer and set it on a timer.
Okay.
And it'll turn off and on by itself, so you don't forget to go out there.
So will the sprinklers for the garden?
Oh, I was going to ask that.
Help that with that?
Yeah, but sometimes you want it to be right up on the foundation.
Okay.
So I guess that soaker hose goes right against the foundation.
Correct.
So it seeps through.
Correct.
Huh. I heard that when I first moved to Houston and someone was talking about foundations, they talk about watering the foundation. I thought they were crazy. Then I read somewhere that it really doesn't help. But last week, Ricardo and I were at a house, I can't remember exactly which one, but it was a very old house that had very good foundation.
Yeah, in Bay City.
And we asked the lady, have you done any foundation work? And she said, no, but my dad installed some hoses and we water the foundation every year. We've been doing it since we bought the house brand new and have never had foundation issues. So that to me was kind of like a flag there saying, yeah, it does work.
Yeah, and I recommend, a lot of times I'll go look at a house that has very little movement. It'll have some movement, and I'll recommend them to put soaker hoses instead of trying to, spend a ton of money on fixing your foundation.
So it could be probably an easy, I don't want to say cheap, because I don't know how expensive the hoses are, and your water bill, but it's definitely cheaper than fixing, especially like you said, if it's just a little bitty of difference, right?
Yeah, and even though you put piers on your house, you still have to maintain your foundation. You're still going to have to water it, and because you can stop your house from sinking, but you can't stop it from floating up.
Oh, okay.
So you always want to keep it, moist. And,
So let's go back a little bit. So who is Carlos, man? How do you end up getting in the foundation business? What's been your trajectory, I guess?
when I first started, I got this job temporarily until I found another job.
What did you do before?
I was building awnings, screen rooms, solariums. I went to school for Sears, sent me to school, and then Texas Aluminum, I went to school to build, awning screen rooms, the Solar 3000 roofs and stuff like that. And then I met this guy, and I went to work with him, leveling houses. And I just stayed working there. I worked with him 13 years.
Wow.
I went out of business.
Wow. And then you started your own company.
Correct. And when I was working for him, I became self-employed.
Okay.
And so I worked for the company, I was self-employed.
So
You're
you
a
became a
contractor.
contractor.
Yeah.
Basically, you'll stay busy with your own stuff, but when he had work, you went and knocked it out for him. And
No, I worked 100% for the company.
okay, but you were just a subcontractor, just like we got our guys. pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, because I asked him for a raise, and he said, well, I can't give you a raise. If you want to make more money, you need to,
Work more.
be a self-contractor.
Self-employed, yeah.
So he loaned me a vehicle, a truck, and loaned me some tools until I got on my feet.
Man, that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. So, how long have you owned Do Right Foundation now?
Do Right's been, I officially became Do Right in 2004.
Okay, almost 14 years.
Yeah. 14, 15, going to 15 years. And do you do all sorts of work, like slab and grade and pier and beam foundations?
Correct. I do, put piers on slabs and on house on blocks.
Okay.
Pier and beam.
Which one, if you were to build your dream house, would you build it slab and grade, or would you build it in sticks or pier and beam?
I would put it up on pier and beam.
Why is that?
Because of the plumbing, if I ever have to adjust it, I can just crawl under it and jack it up.
That's good that someone that does foundation for a living is saying that, because you get it's like everything in life. Some people hate it. They only want to see slab and grade foundations, and some people love them. Especially if they grew up in a slab on grade foundation or pier and beam house. They tend to love it because they know how to work it. Like you said, you got a plumbing issue, you get under the house, fix it yourself. You got to level the house. Sometimes you get a hydraulic jack, and you put a shim there, and done.
Correct.
But since we do rehabs on both pier and beam and slab and grade foundations, when I'm showing the houses as a realtor, when we finish doing them, sometimes people that walk through a pier and beam foundation, they don't get it. They're like, oh, the house is still kind of feels like that, and they don't understand that's the nature of it. You have to level every so often, and it's never gonna be, well, probably after Do Right goes and does your foundation, it's gonna be perfectly leveled. But after a couple of years, it's normal, right? To move a little bit.
I had a house that I don't know how many times I leveled it, right?
Yeah.
And it was just me. I will go there and get it with the jacks and jack it all up. And I had a bunch of little jacks, man. I had, I don't know, 100 of them probably. And I would just go and jacking them all up, and then that's it. It would be level. And one time I remember, and I know this is kind of like redneck, right? I went and left the jack in place, and I poured concrete over it. I said, the hell with it. I was just gonna stay like that, and it worked. But then I sold the house with all the jacks in there, right? And for a long time we were buying houses, and the reason why we would pick them up is because the other investors will shy away from pier and beam houses.
That's where I want to go next. Talk about, most of the people that listen to our show are investors.
Correct.
Should they be scared of buying houses with foundation problems? Because it's it has a stigma that, oh, it's so expensive, you're going to spend, I don't know, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 fixing the foundation.
Carlos.
What can you tell those investors that are looking at a house and they're shying away just because it has foundation problems?
I would say 98% of the houses can be fixed. I mean, it might, be a little expensive, but I mean, they can be fixed.
Okay. And I know we're not going to talk numbers here, but generally speaking, just for one pier, if it's slab and grade and you need to raise it, just one pier, what's the going rate in the Houston area? And you don't have to be specific.
And this is 2019, by the way. If you
Yeah,
listen to
if
this,
you're watching this video in 2025.
if you're gonna go with like Ocean or Due West, all the big companies, you're gonna spend anywhere from $350 to $1,000 per pier.
Per pier?
Yeah.
Per pier.
Ooh, okay.
I just looked at a house. It was 19 piers, and they wanted $25,000, and that was
Wow.
Ocean.
Wow. That's expensive. What about pier and beam? You know, when you have a house sitting on sticks or stills, whatever they call it, are those do those tend to be cheaper than your concrete
I
slab and grade?
find out that, from an investor perspective, it's more expensive to fix pier and beam homes because by the time you get to them, they're all rotten, and
you
have
gotta
to
replace wood.
replace a bunch of beams and a bunch of decking, but that's where the money is.
Yeah, and you don't know what you're going to get into on a house on pier and beam until you open it up.
Open it up.
So once you give your bid, I hate to go in and give my bid and then come back and say switch horses in midstream.
Yeah, and ask for more
say,
money.
I need more money
Right.
because it's not the customer's fault that I underbid the job.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to go in and bid the job fairly, but at where I feel I'm going to make money and do the job correctly.
Yeah.
Because once I give my bid, I hate to go back on my word because it's not ethical to do that.
Right.
I guess you could always, just put like
Well,
there
like,
should be
I'll give you an
just-
example. So with Tony just bought a house in West Columbia, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I referred the job to Carlos. I said, Carlos, go check this out. By the way, you can open the flooring. I don't care how much you destroy, so you can bid it right. And so he did. He went over there, opened up some squares around the house, and he gave him a bid. And I walked the job, and the house was completely leveled.
Which is, just Ricardo gave a good tip. If you're an investor and you're going to be replacing the floors anyway, let the people bidding your foundation open holes, and you'll get a better down to the dime estimate of the repairs if they are allowed to see what's underneath the house. Correct?
Correct. And sometimes the wood will look good and it'll be dry rotted.
Can you explain a little bit what that is?
Dry rotted is when there's no cross ventilation under the house and it holds moisture, so it rots the wood. And you can look at it and it'll look brand new, but when you touch it,
It's mushy
it's
and
mushy.
okay, I get it.
And a lot of houses, I can walk through a house and feel what's going on with it. I'm a big guy, I can.
Yeah.
If the floor feels spongy to me, there's something going on underneath.
You,
There's something wrong.
you jump 2 or 3 times and say,
Yeah,
okay, this is the
I'll
estimate to
bounce
fix
on
it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll jump, but maybe try to bounce a little bit, right?
And I'll bounce a little bit, and I can feel it. I've been doing it so long, I can basically tell, what's going on with it.
Yeah, that reminds me of a house also in West Columbia that some of our investors fixed a long time ago, but it had an addition in the back, and when you walk into, that was the master room. I'm talking about the house in 16th Street, I believe.
Yeah, the greenhouse.
The greenhouse, yeah. When you walk in the master room, it felt like you were bouncing, and when you got underneath, you could see that whoever did the addition, they only put like a joist every 24 inches or something, so they were too spread apart, and it felt like that. But that's an easy fix, right? You just get underneath, add more,
Yeah, you can add more floor, one in between every one.
and yeah, they'll make it.
So let me ask you a question, Carlos. What is the first thing that somebody should look for to determine that the foundation needs to be repaired? Let's say the house doesn't have any cracks. But that's the first thing, right? You got cracks. Oh, there's a problem. But sometimes they don't have cracks because they hide it, right?
Yeah.
Somebody else went back and patched them all up. And so, what can I look for as an investor to know? Okay, even though the drywall is in great conditions, these are the telltale signs that I'm looking for foundation.
What I do when I walk in the house and I don't see any cracks, but I feel the floor's off, I go look at all the doors.
Right.
I go to the hallway and I'll open and close the door and I'll look at the striker. And you can see if the striker's been moved because they'll caulk the top or they'll put putty on it.
Right.
And then you look at the top of the door, if you got gaps on the top or at the bottom, and I'll look at all the doors like that.
Okay.
And it's like, I let the house talk to me. The guy that taught me how to give estimates, his dad had leveled houses for 40 years. And they didn't have the equipment we have today.
Right.
So
We actually own one of those things that you put in the middle of the house.
the zip level.
The zip level, yeah. That's exactly what we
I
have.
use a laser, but I have a zip level also. But back then, they didn't have that equipment. So they use the 4-foot level in the measuring tape.
Okay.
And he walked with me, and he would always tell me, the house will talk to you if you listen to it. And
Same thing with the windows, right? You can look at, if the windows
Correct.
don't open or they don't close for some reason, it might be shifted.
And you can step back in the room and look at the windows, and you can see if they're cocked. And, you know, that's what I do. I walk outside and look at the gaps in the windows if they've been caulked or, you know, stuff like that. You can see it.
Well, I went to this house on Saturday, right, that we put on the contract, and the foundation's being repaired. And I was just telling Carlos prior to the show, I was like, look, man, I went to this house. They got a warranty from the previous company, but I know that foundation needs to be reworked. Especially going from the kitchen to the living room, it's like that. But there's no cracks anywhere because somebody, maybe
Patch
when they
it.
remodel the house, they patched it all up. And it's still fairly new to where it hasn't come apart. But I can tell that the foundation is going like that. And I'm pretty sure if you throw a ball, it's just going to, you know.
And I'm sorry. I didn't mean
Yeah,
to
go
cut
ahead.
you off. Well, I looked at a house on Saturday too. It was like that. And the lady said, my house needs to be leveled. And so I went and looked at it. And the floor was off 2 inches. She had an engineer, and it was 2 inches off. And I shot the elevation with my laser. But all the windows were level. I put my level in the window. Took my 4-foot level.
Wow.
And I put it in the window. There was no cracks in the bricks, no gaps, no nothing.
That's what happened in the Sweeney house.
And the fireplace was level. So I told the lady, I said, there's nothing I can do here. If I level your house, I'm just gonna put piers on it and, you know, just drive it and shim it and walk away. That's all I can do. I said, you'd be throwing your money away. I said, I feel that the house was built like this. And I said, you know, the engineer told you that it was 2 inches off, and I agree with him. But we don't know how the slab was poured when the house was initially built. And
So we just had a house like that. Then
Yeah, we're just finishing a house in Sweeney that flooded, and there were no cracks anywhere. All the doors are level, windows are level, the chimney is level, all the brickwork outside, no cracks anywhere in the house. But when the guys were gonna start installing tile and they start, you know, doing their measurements,
Yeah.
they noticed that there was a big difference in elevation from where the fireplace is to the last bedroom. The only problem is that you mentioned too, in this house is 5 inches.
God, no.
And we looked all over the place. I brought the zip level out and everything is level but the floor. So we had no other choice but to put a topping, make a step right in the middle of the house. We make a step of 2-inch step, and we leveled the entire thing with basically concrete and sand mixture,
Yeah.
and then lay the tile. Because I mean, the house is level. It's just that the foundation, whoever poured the foundation was either drunk or on some sort of drug, and they poured the foundation like that.
Or they didn't get an inspection.
Yeah, they just did it however they felt like. So what else can I look for, Carlos, to determine that there is foundation work needed in the property? Yeah, on a slab foundation.
On the slab, like I said, you just look at the windows, doors. I can usually walk. With me, I can walk on the floor and I can basically tell you
Right.
about how far the level is just walking on it. And but mostly I just look at the doors, the windows. I walk outside and look at cracks. I look in the ceilings. You know, and
I'm the same way. I just don't know how much, right? Or where a pier needs to be. I just know that it needs work, because it's either going like that. So I got a pretty good sense on how level the floor is. Although on that Sweeney house, I never paid attention to that because I didn't see any signs and I didn't feel like the foundation was going a certain way. But what about like kitchen cabinets and things like that? Do
the
they
kitchen-
also?
Yeah, the cabinet doors, they'll be you can look at them, they'll be like that.
Right.
You know, they'll be staggered.
And tile, like backsplash tile or tile in the bathrooms, they start, you know, the grout starts cracking. So those are all telltale signs that you might have to call Carlos here to get you a quote for your foundation work. I'm gonna, go ahead, Ricardo, you have a question? I have, I think, probably one of the last questions, Carlos. How soon in the Houston market, again, if you're somewhere else, it might be different, but in the Houston market, when do you start seeing problems on brand new houses? So let's say houses built 2, 3, 4, 5 years, 10 years. Around what time is, on average,
How long does it take for a house to shift?
to start showing signs?
About
and
10 years.
10 years.
And
Woo.
it's funny you say that because the guy that I worked for that taught me how to level houses, he would tell me every new house, all the houses that are built new, he said they're all potential customers.
Of course, every
and
single
that's always
house.
stayed in my mind.
Oh wow.
And the reason I asked that question, Carlos, I'm going to ask you is, and this is my personal house. You know, my house is brand new construction. It was built in 2014, so it's going to be 5 years now in June. And I've already had 3 windows cracked. And I don't know if it's the windows are really cheap, but no one opens or closes them. They just crack on their own. So I have already replaced 2 windows. And this week, my daughter says like, "Hey, come to my bedroom," and I'll be damned. This is the 3rd window that's cracked, and it's not like someone threw a door. I'm guessing the foundation is shifting.
Up and down.
But shouldn't the windows have some play, maybe to I don't know, so a little change doesn't crack a window?
And in your case, they probably didn't leave any play in it. They probably snugged it all up tight. Because it should have a little caulk in it. Well, the windows are nailed to the framing too, so it might not have any play in it. And it move if the ground, like with the weather, it floats up and down, and with the stress of it floating up and down, it could crack the windows.
Yeah, because it's 3 windows now in a 5-year-old house, and
Well,
I would hate to think that foundation will have to be corrected
you
pretty
need
soon.
to start watering down the foundation.
I will. Glad that Carlos is here.
Carlos go one day and tell you exactly how you need to wire it down and where to put the hoses and all that, right?
I'll have to.
Actually, you can sell it under finance and let the next guy do it. Let the next guy do it. Just change the windows up and let him do it. But say, look, by the way, you need to water the foundation, and then he's gonna look at you like all weird, like what?
I think it was something that was more common back in the day in the Houston area, but nowadays the new people that are moving into the town, they don't know anything about watering foundation, and maybe you'll get more work in the next 10, 15 years because people are not watering it.
And that's what happens in the drought season. I get a lot of calls. And I rarely work for the public. I mostly just work for investors, but I'll have random people call me. They'll see my website on the internet or something, and they'll call me, and that's when it happens because they don't water the foundation. The ground will shrink; it'll dry up and shrink, and their house will settle.
Now, let's say I have a limited budget. Is there a way to avoid foundation problems whatsoever in the Houston area? Can you drive piles down to bedrock or something?
If you're building your house,
Builder's piers would be the way to go. I'm doing like every 8 feet.
Every 8 feet, you put and how deep you need to go?
They go up to 30 feet, and they'll put I think it's like a 2-foot shaft with a 3-foot bell on the bottom of it. So they'll be,
yeah, they spread out at the bottom.
And don't have them not attach it to the slab. It'll float on top.
Okay. So I guess the reason they don't do that in every house is because houses will be absurdly expensive.
Correct.
It'll be too expensive.
But if you have the money and you don't want to deal with foundation,
that house in Freeport we're building, right? We drove piers down, and they're 35 foot in the ground.
Oh, but that's different because it's coastal. You're right next to the water, and
right. But still, how much is just that one process, right? Just to drive those piers down.
Yeah.
So, okay. You have any questions for Carlos?
No.
How do we get in contact with you, Carlos?
You can call my office at 713-498-1937.
1937, and your website is dorightfoundation.com, right?
Correct.
Do you have a Facebook page as well?
Yeah.
Make sure you go on his Facebook page, hit like, send him a message, say the Renovating Riches guy sent you, or the cash flow marketing events. You're gonna see his logo in our website pretty soon, and we're gonna put a link from our website to his website. That way he knows where you're coming from, and he gives you preferred discount.
Yes, sir.
Because he's working. Actually, you know what? I've compared your bids to other foundation companies, and you're pricing right. I mean, you're not trying to get rich in one. You're trying to get rich in a bunch of them.
I'm sorry.
No, and he said it that he works mostly for investors more than the retail market. So he knows your business. If you're an investor listening to the show,
and my goal is not more monetary. It's more in getting clients.
Right, long-term relationships, repeated clients. So make sure you go visit with Carlos. He's done a couple of houses for us now, and he's done a great job. I went and checked out on the work myself. In one of them, he forgot to put the shims, but that's okay. We'll make mistakes. No, it's some cities. I don't even know why they do that, because some cities will require them. Some other cities. The
I know
li-
you're talking about the bug
little
shields.
the little shims for the
bug
termites.
shields.
Yeah.
Termite shields.
But I'm pretty sure termites are gonna find a way up anyways.
They'll mound around it and climb
Right.
up on there.
Most people just, they let the ground go above the 6 inches that clearance it should have, and as soon as they smell the wood, they'll build a way to get to
Yeah.
it. So
Yeah.
if you don't want problems with termites, just make sure that the ground is 6 inches under the first 2x4 that's laid there.
How many foundations have you done altogether, man, since you
My
started?
career, I estimate about 5,000.
5,000. That's 5,000 houses.
That's
that's
5,000 experience.
Just
Wow.
went from me starting my company, but when I worked at that other company, I probably, I would say close to 10,000 houses.
Okay. Wow.
In my whole career that I've been doing.
Wow.
All right, so our producer is making all sorts of gestures so we can finish this this interview. Carlos, we want to thank you first of all
All
for
right,
the
thank you.
podcast,
All
and
right.
thank you
Appreciate
for
you.
being a sponsor of the
Yeah,
event in
of the
Katy
event.
and the event in spring.
If you come to one of our events and you see Carlos, you say hi. Appreciate the beer, Carlos. He doesn't drink, but he's buying you one. So.
And ask him any questions I might have forgotten.
Yeah, feel free to ask me any questions.
All right?
All right, thank you. You have a great day. Don't forget to hit share, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.